Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study of science, Sattology means a science of truth, a study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means a science or study of fake lie or imagination. If you use mythology for Ramayana and Mahabharata history, you're doing a great disservice because mythology term itself means it's not real or it doesn't have historical basis or geographical basis. And one of the most funniest things I've heard recently is by some preeminent people, so called, that Mohenjo-daro Harappan, found in Pakistan, predated Mahabharata. Actually, if you speak like that, that means you are not aware of the Mahabharata itself. You're not aware of Ramayana itself because there are ample archaeological, historical, mountain, geographical proofs given about the Vedic culture all over the planet, not just today's India, is all over the planet. And I have proved in two of my books, the Pandavas and also the global footprint of Ramayana, which is available in India. So use those words very carefully because it can be people are getting more aware and people are going to question. So be very careful with your words when you say that is all pre-Vedic or another notion that Aryans came from outside. No. People who practice Sanatan Dharma, they are known as Arya. It can be anyone. Whether it's born in USA or born in India or anywhere else, because Arya is a word of qualification. So I have a very special guest today, and I'll invite him. You know him. He's known as Jagannath Bhakt, like me. Let us welcome Surya Sarathi Roy. Namaskar.
Jai
Surya.
Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath. Jai Jagannath. So one of the questions comes in. So people talk about Jagannath Puri, but we will dissect Jagannath Puri into small sections because
Absolutely.
that Sri Kshetra has so many beautiful things. First of all, it's
Yes,
all made in the form of a conch shell. The whole area is a conch shell.
correct.
Shankha. So for those people who know how to blow it, you must try it. It will remove some negativity in your house. At least
Yes.
once a day, you should blow it in your house. So coming to Gundicha, people do not know. Some people may know Gundicha Mardanam by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but others may not know that how much important Gundicha is to the Sri Kshetra. So can you tell us a little bit about Gundicha first and the origin,
Sure.
and then we'll go around Gundicha, including the Narsinga deity around Gundicha.
Yeah. We were speaking about it last episode. Yes. So, to start with, Sri Gundecha Temple, not only Gundecha, but Sri Gundecha Temple derives its name from Maharani Gundecha, who was the chief consort or the chief, chief Maharani of Maharaj Indradumna, who was the architect of the original temple which came up uh, in the first time in the land of Shri Kshetra. So Gundicha temple now has two most important beliefs associated with it. So which directly comes in the Rath Yatra. So in the Rath Yatra, what happens typically, the first day of the Rath Yatra is actually called Sri Gundicha Yatra. We all know as International Car Festival or the Rath Yatra Day, but the technical name of that Rath Yatra Day is actually Sri Gundicha Yatra, which means Mahaprabhu Sri Jagannath with his elder brothers Balram and Subhadra, in their chariot travels to Sri Gundicha Temple. The second legend or the second belief that is associated with Sri Gundicha is that when Sri Krishna goes back to Vrindavan or Rajbhumi to meet the gopis, to meet Radha, that is also one of the beliefs. The other belief, which also stems from ages, is Gundicha Temple. Most importantly, and probably this is the most important one, is Gundicha Temple is supposed to be the Janma Bedi, means where Mahaprabhu Sri Jagannath was born. Now, if I look at the the history which is mentioned for the invocation of Jagannath Mahaprabhu in Skanda Puran, Utkal Parva, or Madalapaji, Shri Niladri Mahodaya, it clearly refers to an incident where Maharaj Indradumna, after he receives the daru from sea, he has to create the uh, daru from that daru Brahma, the image of Lord Jagannath. But before that, uh, Brahma and Narad Muni comes and meets him, and they do a yagya, a havan, and they did the havan at this place at the Sri Gundecha Temple, and it was decided that Mahaprabhu Jagannath's deity would be made at this place. The carving would be done at this place. So that is why today, when he goes there in the Sri Gundecha Temple and stays there for a week, it is called Janmavedi, going back to the Janmavedi. So, and that is also one of the reasons where it is believed that he goes back to his maternal place, or to his place, or I mean where who he would alight his Janmavedi. Now, why does it go back to the Gundicha temple? Or why the Rath Yatra is designed like from Sri Mandir it will go to Gundicha temple? So the legend, or the the documented history, what you can say, of Jagannath Mahaprabhu states that at the time when the Daru Brahmas for all the three, or rather the four deities, were carved out, including Sudarshan Mahaprabhu, or Sudarshan Chakra as we know him, uh, after it was decided, or it was instructed by the by the carpenter who had come for creating those images, some say that it is Lord Narayan himself, Mahaprabhu Jagannath himself, and some say it is Vishwakarma, the Dev, the Dev, representative of the Devas who had come there to create these images. But whosoever it was decided that till the time the carving of the images were complete, and the carpenter would himself not open the doors, nobody is supposed to knock him, disturb him, or open the doors without his permission. But then what happened, on the 15th day of the carving, when there was no sound coming up, Maharani Gundicha was extremely worried, and she pressurized kind of Maharaj Indradumna to get the doors opened and check what is happening inside, since there has been no sound for some time now. So the doors were forced open, and they could find that the idols of Jagannath Mahaprabhu, Gundicha, Maharani Gundicha and Maharaj Indradumna went inside, and they found that the images of Jagannath, Balabhadra, and Subhadra were in the current form that we see today, without hands, without legs, and all that. So they were very sad, and Gundicha Maharani was cursing herself, and she was very upset, and she prayed to Jagannath Mahaprabhu that she be punished, and she should remain, and she should not bore a son for herself anymore. And and she was very extremely unhappy with herself. But then Jagannath Mahaprabhu had some other wishes, so he appeared in front of them and told them that you need not worry on, and stop. You need to stop cursing yourself. It is my wish. As per my wish, this has happened. And every year, when you organize the Rath Yatra, that's what he told Maharajendra Dimna when he was laying down that what all festivals would happen and when it would happen, etc. He told that, when I go out, you have to make the Janma Bedi dedicated to my mother, my motherly figure, which is Maharani Gundicha, and the temple would be known as Sri Gundicha Temple. And every year when I go out on my chariot to this Gundicha temple, it should be called as Gundicha Yatra. So that's more or less the the historic, or the documented or scriptural details that we find today of Gundicha temple. And he stays there for 7 days, and on the 8th day they come back. Now, another two important rituals which happen in the Sri Gundicha Temple. One is on the day of the Rath Yatra, the Rath three chariots, they reach Gundicha Temple, but then the deities do not alight from the chariots and straightway go to the Janmavedi directly. It happens the next day of Rath Yatra, and this process or this ritual, for that matter, is called Adapa Mandapa Bijay. The pahundi, the sounding, resounding sounds of the conch bells and everything that happens, the procession that happens to take him out. That entire process is called Adapa Mandapa Bijay, and it is said that after completing the Adapa Mandapa Bijay, that Mahaprabhu will alight his Janmavedi. So this is one important aspect. The second important aspect is the Mahaprasadam that is prepared for the 7 days, only 7 days in a year when Jagannath Mahaprabhu stays in Gundicha Temple, is said to be of supreme importance. I mean, in some of the scriptures, it is mentioned that these Mahaprasadams are actually, more value. I mean, I would say the punya, the associated with this Mahaprasadam is much more than what we normally get at Sri Jagannath Temple, because it is only for 7 days, that too from his Janmavedi. So it has got a lot of relevance in our scriptures. The third point is, when the deities stay there during their stay, the deities are again readorned, or the angara that is happening, that happens just before the Rath Yatra, in order to ensure that the deities are fresh, they look nice, they are painted with traditional colors that are used normally. So that angara happens over there. And one very funny incident which normally takes place in the Gundicha Temple during his stay in the Gundicha Temple is the Lakshmi Mata. Lakshmi Mata comes with his team at the Gundicha Temple, fights with Mahaprabhu and breaks his chariot. His chariot's name is Nandi Ghosh. So he breaks one of the wheels of the chariot, and that happens on the Hera Panchami day, the Panchami day actually. The entire ritual is called Hera Panchami. So this is another, important ritual that happens at Sri Gundicha Temple during his stay. So these are the few things which are mostly related to Gundicha Temple, and there are certain important places which obviously we will cover now. So over to you, Aditya ji.
See, one of the people go to Jagannath Puri temple and may not be aware of Gundicha, and I think from this they will be at least aware what is the importance. Whether
Yes.
the yatra happens from Jagannath Puri temple to Gundicha, towards Gundicha, and comes
Yes.
back. And
Correct.
so there are many important areas nearby. The Kund are also there, Kund.
Yes.
And behind the temple, there is a temple also Narasimha, which people say
Right.
the original. You also said it. And
Yes.
there's behind Jagannath Mandir also, there's a huge Narasimha deity.
Yes.
There's a
Yes.
huge Narasimha deity, and then if you look in the direction of where Narasimha there is looking on the left side, on the lower side is the Ekadashi,
Yes.
which is hung upside down.
Yes.
So people
We
are
were
surprised,
discussing.
you know. So now
Yeah.
coming back to Gundicha temple. So what is the Narasimha temple behind it, and how important it is, and what are the areas like the Kund near Gundicha temple which people can visit?
Yeah. So if you look at the geographical location of the Sri Gundicha Temple, first of all, it is important to understand that whenever you are, or anybody is in Sri Kshetra, they should take bath in 5 sarovars or water bodies, to be very honest. The first one is Indradumno Sarovar, that is exactly just located just behind the Sri Gundicha temple. The Indradumna Sarovar is created out of the diggings that happened by 1,000 Gau Matas when Maharaj Indradumna was conducting the Ashwamedh, Yagya or a Havan at the time of establishing the temple, along with Brahma and Narad. So that is one of the water bodies that one should first and foremost go and have a dip. over there. Then the second water body is Shwet Ganga, which is located just opposite to the Ganga Mata Mutt, and which is also one of the very important dwelling places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So people who are devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm sure must have heard of Shwet Ganga. Then the third is Narendra Sarovar, where the Chandan Yatra happens for Jagannath Mahaprabhu. The fourth one is Mahadodhi, which is nothing but the ocean, the Bay of Bengal per se. So one should always have a dip in Mahadodhi. So four we covered, and the fifth one, and the most important, which people doesn't know, and probably we can cover that, little later or in another episode, is the Markandeya Sarovar. Markandeya Sarovar is where Maharshi Markandeya, did his penance to escape death at the hands of Yamraj, and even today, the temple houses that Shiva Lingam, which burst open and from which Mahadev had come out. So today, even if any devotee or any person goes to Markandeya Sarovar, he or she will get an opportunity to see that divine lingam, which is actually cracked, and you can see right till below what is there inside, and it is exactly cracked in a manner. Any intelligent person can, if you look at it, look at the lingam, it is cracked in a manner that suddenly when something bursts open, it is exactly in that form. So, and then obviously the Markandeya Sarovar, where Maharshi Markandeya used to, take a dip every day. So these are the five water bodies in Sri Kshetra, which one should always take a dip. And the first one, obviously, being Indradumna Sarovar, which is just behind the Sri Gundecha Temple. One very important piece of history which resides behind Jagannath Puri is a very small temple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, why that temple is special? Because we have a ritual which we will come a little later in this show, is a Gundecha Marjan Utsav. The Gundecha Marjan Utsav, which happens one day ahead of Rath Yatra, is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this festival, where along with his devotees, he used to clean the entire Sri Gundecha temple. And in this particular temple, which is there, a very small one, houses one of those broken kalas, the kalas in which water, the pot in which water used to be carried in those days, one of the broken parts of the kalas which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had thrown. So that kalas is still housing, and it is protected in a glass, container, and very nicely preserved in the temple, and anybody can go and see and have a look at that. So you get an opportunity to look at that 500-year-old pot or a piece of pottery, you can see. So that's one thing. The third thing, which is very important near the Sri Gundecha Temple, is the Narasimha Temple, which is there. Now, this Narasimha Temple is very special because here at this site, before, as I was mentioning a couple of minutes back, when Maharshi Narad, Brahmaji, and Maharaj Indradumna was performing the Havan, it is here that Lord Narasimha appeared and instructed them what to do. So here in this place, there is a Narasimha temple, a small one with enormous, enormous vibration. I mean, I never miss an opportunity whenever I'm in Puri. I never miss an opportunity to have a darshan, and darshan at the time of the Sandhya Aarti. So that is enormous vibration that generates, and the current deity which anybody can go and see is not the original deity. That's a Pratibhu deity which is kept for for everybody's darshan. But the original deity, I mean, nobody can say when it was carved and who had carved it, but it is actually located behind it. So, and again, as I say, this is extremely powerful. This deity and this temple is extremely powerful. And anybody who is into spiritual practices, if he goes there and does a jap, it gives a enormous benefit to that person. So there is one more ritual which typically happens in the Gundicha temple, not inside the temple, but outside the temple, and that is why I am mentioning it right now. Is the placement of the chariots, on the Sarada Bali. Now, what is Sarada Bali? The Sarada Bali, or Bali means sand, okay, and the area is called Sarada Sand. Sarada Bali is the second gate, the first gate, then the second gate of the Sri Gundicha temple. In front of the second gate is the Sarada Bali area. So typically, what happens when on the day of the Rath Yatra or the Sri Gundicha Yatra, when the chariots come and reach the frontal portion of the chariots from where the deities would alight and go inside the Gundicha temple is faced towards the main entrance of the temple. Now, before the reverse Rath Yatra, which is called the Bahura Yatra, they need to be turned back and placed in a manner on the Sarada Bali so that the frontal portion of the Rath is actually facing the Jagannath Temple. Okay, and this entire activity that happens is done on one day ahead of the Bahura Yatra, or the reverse Rath Yatra, or Ulta Rath, or whatever we call them. And they are pulled by the security guards and the servitors or the Sevaites and placed in front of Sarada Bali. So that's a beautiful, today we have drone shoots available. Probably, I could have shown you certain pictures of this activity. I have a lot of pictures around that. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of movement that happens exactly. And at many times, the devotees are also allowed to pull the chariot on those days, local devotees per se. So these are the a few key, important pieces around Gundicha temple, which happens typically today. Yeah. Over to you, Aditi.
So one of the important things you mentioned, now I'll come to the little bit controversy also. So there are a lot of people who accuse Vaishnavas, or because, so according to, if you read Mahabharata Ramayana, then the modern concept of Vaishnavite, Shaivite, nothing is there, because all paths lead to Brahma.
Absolutely.
Whether you go through any Devta or Devi, but ultimately the Devta and Devi act as a god, as a guru, and bring you to Brahma, Parabrahma or Hari. And if you carefully observe all their prayers also, Vishnu Sahasranam is recited everywhere, everywhere. All the Devi Devta puja, whether it's Saraswati puja or Ganesh puja, Vishnu Sahasranam is recited by the
Absolutely.
Pandit. Listen carefully, Garuda Puran, it is very clearly says, Sabhaya Abhyantara Shuchi. This says that shloka is recited again and again. And Purusha
Correct.
Shukta is sprayed in all the Devi Devta, if you observe properly. So,
Yes.
how do you answer the controversy that Vaishnavas have invented these stories? So, when you say like Vaishnava, obviously for a person, so there is no distinction much like the Shakta, Vaishnava, Shaivite, the people say. But in Mahabharata time, we read that in the ashram of Vishwamitra, ashram of Shukracharya, ashram of Brahaspati, all kinds of people are there. All kinds. They are very,
Absolutely.
so how do you answer that from that perspective? People who are trying to introduce politics in the itihas. This is the itihas. So what do you answer for that this is Vaishnavas have invented all these stories?
So it is really unfortunate that we today we come across these kind of concepts being aired and discussed. But let us set back, go back and look at what our Adi Guru Jagat Guru Shankaracharya had taught. So what did Shankaracharya say? Shankaracharya focused on the Vedas, Vedic rituals, Vedic teachings. He mentioned Dvaitva and Advaita, and in both the teachings, and in all his scriptures, all his compositions, he constantly tries to educate people, the common masses, about the existence of this Brahman or the super soul. or the Purushottam. But unfortunately, today, with the passage of time, his teachings have got diluted. Political reasons, religious divisions, subdivisions, all these things have actually got diluted. But then again, if I look at the Bhakti movement where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and Mirabai, everybody came and everybody's teachings, or even Guru Nanak or Kabir, everybody's teachings, if you look at them very closely, they all speak of the super soul, the connection between soul and super soul. And if somebody has to say, as you rightly said, if you look at our Mahakavyas, the Rama and the Mahabharata, what are the Sri Vishnu in Ramayana, or Sri Vishnu as Krishna in Mahabharata? What are they teaching? They're teaching you to worship Shiva. They're teaching they wherever they're going, they are popularizing Shiva worship. And if somebody distinguishes between Shiva and Hari and Har, then I personally feel that person has not been able to understand the very essence of Sanatana Dharma. So if you look at that, the concept of Hari Hareshwar, why did the concept of Hari Hareshwar came in? Because there is hardly any difference between Hari and Har. Hari in all our scriptures, everybody, where you go to Shiv Mahapuran, or you go to Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, or by Vishnu Puran, everywhere it is shown that Hari worships Har, Har worships Hari. They are the best of friends, they are the best of Easters between each other. Shiva himself is considered as the Param Vaishnav. Mata Durga, or Narayani, is actually a Vaishnavi. I mean, of course, keep aside the tantric portion of it, the Daso Mahavidyas and all that, but they're all, trying to express that we should keep Hari in everything that we do. It has got nothing to, nothing to conclude that is the Vaishnavas has, made these stories up, or it has been in place in all our scriptures, right from Rig Veda or even to Raman, Mahabharata, and everywhere it is mentioned. Why does Veda Vyas, says, or even Bhishma Pitamaha, does a pranam to Sri Krishna even before he leaves the body? Just a small example, the Vishnu Shastranam, as you rightly said, it was pronounced by none other than Bhishma Pitamaha, and Bhishma Pitamaha, when did he say so? When did he decipher that knowledge? When he deciphered that before leaving his body to Yudhishthir, Maharaj Yudhishthir, where, and in this entire course, Veda Vyas was also present there, Krishna Daipa and Veda Vyas. So if people are, the problem is today, people do not read our original scriptures, which is a big lacuna, I would say. And even if they read, they read the abridged versions, which actually, does a lot of harm than more than good. If you ask, of course, I don't. I mean, today's fastage doesn't give enough time to people, and there is no ecosystem which can encourage these kind of readings. But then I would still urge people to have a look at, with an open mind. Sorry, I think I went out for a sec.
Yeah, you said read with an open mind. That's very
Yes, yes. So it is important, and today, the religious divisions, subdivisions, the political environment across in every country, or even in India for that matter, is actually very confusing. I do acknowledge that, but in spite of all these things, my repeated advices to the people would be: read with an open mind, read the original text by Vedavyas's Mahabharata, Valmiki's Ramayana, where actually which are the reflections, the original historical reflection of the societies existing at that point of time, and most importantly, what messages, what practices, were done by Sri Ram and Sri Krishna at those times. What did they say actually? You know, and once you actually try to understand and follow those, words, the confusion would become very clear. You do actually don't need to go to anybody to seek clarification. Sorry. So this is how I would like to take this, Adityaji. Sorry.
Yeah, most of the people, like, they do not, if they read the towards the end of 16th chapter, they know Krishna Bhagavan says Shastra Vidhim Utsijya. He says Shastra Vidhanoktam Karya Karya Vyavastita. So Bhagavan Krishna very clearly says that for a Manushya who has not seen beyond his body with his own eyes, Shastras are a vehicle to see something beyond us because somebody else has seen it. Just because you have not seen it doesn't mean anybody else has not seen it.
Absolutely.
There are
Absolutely.
many Americans who have not been to India. They will not be able to point out where is India on a map. They've heard,
Yeah.
but they've heard about it. So
Yes.
but there are people, 6 million or approximately 20 to 30 million Americans have visited India. So 330 million people don't know it. So 25 to 30 million people know it. So
Yeah.
you have to ask the person who knows it. So it's a very small fraction of the society, 10%. But they have visited India. They know about India. And in fact, now India is one of the chapters in the textbooks now. They teach all
Correct.
garbage, but now there is an American textbooks have a chapter on India now. But
Right.
if you ask somebody, where is New Delhi? They can't say it. But if somebody tells him New Delhi has 30 million people, which is equal to the population of California, almost equal, or Canada, more than Canada. So they get shocked. How can so many people live in one small city? So the point is, Atmate Manyate Jagat. So whatever is it in your mind, that's what you reflect and see.
Absolutely.
Similarly, Shastra, just like the global atlas is there, the Ramayana Mahabharata Ityas is there for us to see something which we cannot experience with our own eyes. And that is called Agama, that is called Shabda Praman. All these things are Agama. So anyway, so that's the
In
whole.
fact, just to add on, just to add on one single
Yeah.
point here, Mahabharat, because of more than 100,000 slokas, is considered as the Pancham Ved, and I that is why I keep telling everybody that read Mahabharat. It will help you to learn a lot, even if you do not get time or do not have the expertise to read the Vedas and decipher the Vedas. If you read Mahabharat, that you will get a lot of perspectives. This is one very important point people should know, and I thought I will share this in this platform.
Yeah, I've written it many times, and everyone has said it. You have repeated what Vaishampayan said it. Vaishampayan said it in the Pratham
Yes,
Veda.
yes,
So
yes.
the point is, like, the entire Veda, Purana, all the stories are capsuled in a very interesting way. So because our acharyas know the condition of people in Kali Yuga, so
Yes,
they
correct.
compiled Mahabharata in such a way. It's like soap opera through your eyes. You're taken
Yes,
into another world. Such a beautiful writing, and
yes,
Ganesh himself is writing it, and such a
yes.
beautiful composition, very tightly knit stories, one after the other. It's the
Right,
people cannot, like, once you get hold of it, you cannot get off it. And
correct.
people like me, we just pick up small stories from Mahabharata and present it,
Yes,
because the original Mahabharata you have to read it yourself. So I always tell people that my books are an advertisement for Mahabharata. It's not because I will bring my perspective, what I understood, and if it builds your
yes.
faith in reading
That's
it,
a very
it's
important
success.
point. That's a very important point. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the honesty also, because I have not seen
Yes,
Krishna Bhagwan, but if you
yes,
read Bhagavad Puran and Mahabharata, you can see in your mind that yes, this is how he looks like.
yes.
And then you don't need to depend on WhatsApp pictures floating of Krishna around. Krishna used to look like this. If,
Yeah,
if
I mean, but there is a very interesting story. I don't know whether you are aware or not, but then probably we can cover it in some other episode.
yeah,
Is the three deities, the Radha Govindev ji, Gopinath ji, and Madan Mohan ji. which were built by Vajranath, the great grandson of Mahaprabhu Krishna, and he created them based on the descriptions he heard from Uttara, who was the
That's
only
right.
person alive that time
That's
who
right.
has seen Mahaprabhu. And when he created the first one, it looked his face has a resemblance. That was Radha Govind Dev Ji, which is currently kept in Jaipur City Palace. Then he created another one which resembled his torso. That was Radha Gopinath Ji. That is kept in Purani Basti in Jaipur. And then the third one which was created, his Charan Kamal, his Charan was resembling it. That was Radha Madan Mohanji, which is now kept in Karoli. All these were part of a Sapta Devalaya, which were in Vrindavan. But later in 1670, when Aurangzeb ordered the plunder of Mathura, Vrindavan, and Kalkaji Temple in Delhi, that was the time when they actually systematically, the Purohits, along with the Rajputs, moved them away secretly through various difficult routes inside to Rajasthan and saved those deities. So today that is one of the reasons why Jaipur is called Gupt Vrindavan. So those five original deities which Bajranav had created reside in Jaipur city today.
And that is now we have a government which is opposing them in any way, which
That
is
is
very
another difficult situation. That's
yeah.
another difficult situation.
Name is Hindu, but the mindset is like a looter.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so thank you so much, Suryaji, for coming on the show today, and thank you for sharing some insights. And believe me, this is just a glimpse of a window of Gundicha. You must, all of you, if you're watching this video and you like this video, then book a ticket, go to Puri. It's easy. It's
And 1st July is the Rath Yatra, and 16th June is the San Purnima, San Yatra or San Purnima, whatever you say. And the big day is approaching. This time, public is allowed to attend the Rath Yatra after two gap of 2 years. So we expect to have a good one.
fulfill your heart's content. Go there.
Yes,
You know?
yes,
Thank you
yes.
and namaste.
Thank you. Jai Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath.